Hello and welcome to the Tees Vice Sport podcast. I'm your host, Danny Reid, and today we have the Children and Young People's Development Officer in the studio. Nigel, welcome to the studio.
Good morning, Danny. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Great having you here. Nigel, you're part of Tees Valley Sport. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey into Tees Valley Sport and how you ended up here?
Yeah, a bit of a random journey, really, to be fair. I've been Tees Valley Sport for 7 years now. I started off my career as a draftsman and doing my apprenticeship, and then went off to university to study sport.
A draftsman?
Yeah, so I did structural steel drawings and things like that.
Oh.
So yeah, very mathematically.
Was that before AutoCAD and things like that?
I was on AutoCAD, yeah.
I was on AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not that old, Danny. Thanks very much.
Oh, sorry.
Although my hairline suggests otherwise. But yeah, I'm not that such a blast from the past. So after that, I decided to go to uni to study sports science, and that was in preparation for the Olympic Games in London.
Oh,
so
right.
the plan was that there'd be loads of jobs coming out in sport. I had a passion for sport and coaching, and that was the journey. Started there, and then when I graduated, the government cut all of the sports partnerships and all the jobs disappeared, and it was a really competitive market at that time. So I ended up getting a job at Northgate Vehicle Hire as an administrator. And
Right, but
that
a
was
little bit removed.
Yeah, massively. So it was kind of like, that was a hurdle to get over. Bit of a challenge, changing your career, going to university, doing something different, being older at university as well, with a bunch of younger students all around you. And yeah, going into vehicle hire was a bit of a shift. So when the job came up with Tees Valley Sport, and I went for that, it was a part-time role. And I actually didn't get the job. Lou Morris did, and went from there. I got a phone call from Martin a few days later saying that they really wanted me involved, and they were looking at opening up an administrator position. So I started off at Tees Valley Sport on 2 days a week on the Future Champions programme, administrating that.
What's the Future Champions?
So Future Champions was a programme that is now AMP Champs, Amplify Tees Valley. That's kind of evolved into that over the period of time. I was on it for about 6 years. Mark Dobinson now looks after that. But it's a programme that focuses on young athletes, talented athletes in the Tees Valley, giving them that extra opportunity to progress in their sport, supporting them with strength and conditioning and gym memberships and sports science support and things like that, giving them those opportunities to understand what it's like to be a professional athlete and the extra knowledge that surrounds that.
Cool. So Children and Young People's Development Officer, can you tell us a little bit more about that role and how it's evolved from where you were when you started to where it is now, and the things that you're involved with?
Yeah, the role's evolved massively over the 7 years I've been here, from dealing with the Future Champions, being involved in school games, developing different projects across the area, looking at inclusion for SEND children, and getting into the community, working with schools. But it's very much a place-based approach now, and working smaller, trying to be more impactful with what we do. And we've moved away from delivery quite a lot to be more a networking and sector connector, really. So we're trying to bring more people together to deliver more in the areas where we're working. So it's made a massive change from when I started. When we were doing the school games, it was, right, we're doing event, but we don't.
Cool. So school games, can you tell us a little bit more about what the school games are and why they're important for the area?
Yeah, school games it's like a national project. Obviously, there's 43 active partnerships across the country, and every one of those runs the school games as a county. But then underneath the county partnership, there's a school games organiser network in each area. So the focus of the school games is really to get young people in schools doing competition and being physically active and giving them an outlet. But it's there as a vehicle to connect everything with their physical health and mental well-being, everything like that. And again, the school games has evolved so much as well, particularly post-COVID. So,
in what way?
So previously it was very much about competitions. So we had 3 different levels. It was kind of their district level, where the SGO, the school games organisers, would deliver their competitions. Then the winners of those competitions would then progress to a level 2, and then the level 3 would be the county finals, which we would organise as an active partnership. But it was all about competition. It was all about the winners. And then COVID, I think it was just before COVID, there was started thinking, right, what can we do differently? Because we're not seeing this. We're seeing the same children come to these events over and over and over again. So there was a bit more of a focus on trying to get different children involved. And then COVID obviously hit, and it was more of a, right, how do we get every single child being active while they're learning from home? So the virtual competitions were a real catalyst to kind of, right, how we change things.
Yeah. So just a quick touch on to COVID. Like, how did you respond to COVID, and how did you deploy your messages throughout the whole lockdown situation?
That was a weird period. So we everything went on video, virtual, and we started developing little activities that children and families could do in their home or in their garden, in their living room. So we were using random equipment like balls, buckets, anything like kind of sport equipment that they might have had at home, and utilising those to try and create games and be active. And actually, it linked in really nicely with the Future Champions, because we got the Future Champions athletes to be volunteers and video themselves demonstrating the activities and setting the challenges. And then we put those out and schools entered. We had a massive uptake. Yeah. There was thousands and thousands of entries into our online forms. And it was really, really positive. And yeah, just seeing people submit videos on social media of kind of what they were doing and kind of giving everything a go and having to try everything.
Yeah.
It was really good to see. And
so I suppose in a way it kind of forced the school games ideas to like innovate slightly and look at stuff slightly different, and because obviously no one's ever really been put through a lockdown before, so being able to change and adapt was a very, very crucial role.
Definitely. And yeah, like I said, it was that COVID was a catalyst to kind of, right, how do we do things differently?
Now, do you think that's being carried on afterwards as a thought process, like an innovation side of things, of it's a different look at things, a different feel on things, different feedback?
It's definitely something that we're trying to make sure it's kind of like our golden thread through everything we do. And we try to get our SGOs to really think differently, to innovate, to challenge themselves and challenge what they deliver. But yeah, in terms of the school games, reframing the competition's been huge. So that's been an initiative from school games themselves, but it does follow up from what we were trying to do anyway. And instead of having competition and the same children come to those events over and over again, we've started development festivals and days where new different children, inactive children, or children who don't really engage in sport or PE are invited along to try different sessions. So it might be, if there was a rugby event, there might be a competition going on, but there's also a development festival where the school can bring competitive children, but also inactive children that can have a go at maybe some rugby skills, some fun games, get them engaged, have some fun, and then just maybe they'll start making that transition into the sport. And then next time they might come to the competition.
I think that's a good idea, because again, a lot of the times, obviously, the inactive kids might feel that they don't have the opportunity to join in because they're not good enough or they're not skilled enough. So have the opportunity to come along and have a little blast at it, really, a little intro type of thing. I think it's a really, really good idea. It's really nice.
Yeah,
I wish they'd done that at our school.
Yeah, well, it is challenging, because obviously there's some schools that are really competitive, other schools that aren't competitive. They don't have that PE support within the school, depending on the size of the school and what staff they have. Then every school is very, very different. So you might have a school that's really, really competitive in loads of different sports, and they want to go and compete. There's still a place for competition. We're not saying that it gets taken away from everything, because every child needs that opportunity to compete. But at what level, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, because you don't. My eldest, she's just getting into gymnastics now, and we've got the youngest who's been into gymnastics forever. She's a coach, so it's interesting to see at what time different children go into sport and what level as well.
Yeah, and they all develop at different ages, different speeds, different times. Interests change depending on what going on around their lives, what the teachers putting on in their PE lessons, etc., what clubs may be around their area, what's influencing them, what's their thought processes. So I think one of the big things we do is try to get them the children's voice, youth voice, to try and understand what they want out of it, and then try and develop things that would suit that need.
That's a really nice approach. That like actually hearing and listening to what they want rather than just giving them what the career team says.
I don't know what it was like when you were at school, but when I was at school, it was we had a secondary school particularly, we had 5 or 6 PE teachers. One was a cross-country runner, one was a basketball player, one was a footballer, and then we had 2 females, one was a gymnastic, and one was the county hockey coach. And I got into hockey because the teacher was putting on hockey. Loads of people got into cross-country running because the teacher was putting on cross-country running.
Yeah.
There wasn't that variety of term-to-term PE lessons. It was what the teachers kind of wanted.
Yeah, what they were interested in was kind of what...
Yeah. And I'm not sure that's changed much.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, what was your experience at
very similar. Not as many teachers. We had rugby. The school was had a very strong rugby team, so it was always the rugby team were doing this. Then the football team was kind of secondary, and then the netball team, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was all there really was. There wasn't much opportunity for anything else. There wasn't a massive onus on athletics, or we did like javelin and stuff during PE, but there was no real variation or opportunities to try different things. So it was so really I think it's like really important now that you look at the change things around for the positive experiences, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that it's getting that positive experience, but there's still another layer to come from that. It's kind of what's their outlet. They might have a fantastic experience at one of these festivals, but there might not be anything local to them for them to go and explore outside of school. So it's like, I mean, you take America, for example, and not very many clubs, community clubs and things, but in their school, all of their schools, they do different. In the fall, they do set sports.
Yeah.
In the winter, they'll do set sports, and every school does them. Whereas here, it's kind of like a bit hit and miss of, yes, there's seasonal sports, so athletics, yes, we'll do athletics because that's the time. But not every school will do it.
Yes, I suppose the opportunity for the kids to have a bit of a voice to it.
Yeah. So it's giving them that opportunity to compete as well, but between schools, not necessarily having the outlet in the community. But our role, I suppose, as an active partnership is to be able to connect the schools and the community offer and go from there. But yeah, having that opportunity to compete is really important, but we need to also understand those young people who are inactive, who don't engage in sport. How do we start their journey?
That is the big question. That's a big question.
And that's why those development festivals are really important, giving them that hook, saying, oh, I really enjoyed that. And we've had some really, really positive feedback from it. So the children, the teachers as well, seeing the difference in the children so they see something different in class or in PE where they're really disengaged, and then they come to the festivals and they're seeing a completely different child because they're like, what, they're buzzing,
they're
having fun,
enjoying something.
Yeah, they're in an environment of peers that are on a similar level.
Yeah,
they're not mixed with Johnny, who's super competitive in their PE lesson, who does everything, who referees, who
potentially could steal the show type of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. Nigel, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.